Now let's see what McFarlane has brought in store for us. Hey everyone, Dark Spider David here. So kind of similarly to how I iterated in my Arkham Asylum City and McFarlane Toy comparison, the design for the Joker in Arkham Asylum is also one of the better ones that I've enjoyed, because I love how it's a much more frail and twisted yet still very faithful interpretation of the Joker character, both design and writing wise, brought to life by Paul Dini and designed by all the creators and designers over at the Rocksteady. This was ultimately one of my favorite versions of the character in almost any medium, and the fact that they were able to make a figure out of it was a no-brainer for me. Now I must iterate that this is actually not the Wave 1 issue of the Arkham Asylum Joker figure by DC Collectibles. This is actually part of that 4-pack that was released a few years later, where you can tell that a few of the design choices or a few of the paint decals and aesthetics for the figure itself are just just a few tweaks different than that original Wave 1, and plus it comes with a different assortment of accessories than that first one initially did. But this is not necessarily a re-review or revisit of this figure entirely. This is also going to be a comparison figure to a new version of the Arkham Asylum Joker brought over to us by the folks over at McFarlane Toys. And we'll be taking a look to see exactly what it is about that figure that is bringing new to this table right here. Let's at least take a quick brief look at this original figure that I've already reviewed in the past 4 or 5 years or so on my original channel. But for the sakes of recap, let's take a look here. As you can see, he's a bit on the skinnier side, but he is nonetheless a 6-inch figure, and overall he is designed and sculpted fairly well. I mean, he's got the overall look of Joker from that version in Arkham Asylum. He's got the pants, the tuxedo, the orange with even the frail looking flower right there on his lapel, and overall I just really dig this look. And granted, the colors are just a tad bit muted here on the top part of his coat, which only makes it ironic that I personally feel like his hair is a little too lightly colored. I feel like it's a darker shade of green in that original video game. With that said, it's still a figure that is quite literally 6 or 7 years or so, and I've had it, kind of outside of its box, displayed up on my shelf, so occasionally the dust and the grime of the environment is officially going to have an effect on the paint decals for the figure itself. As far as posability, that is probably where my few qualms with the figure come into play, because I do honestly feel like articulation is a little limited, and I understand that his frail kind of stance or look is something to use as a way to argue that, but at the same time, Joker, when he wants to be, he is a very animated personality, and to give him a slightly limited posability architecture is a little it's a little wrong, because he just comes with overall just the basic ones. You have a 360-degree joint here for the neck, as well as a very slight pivot up and down of the head. You have the basic joint here at the top of the arm that allows 360 degrees vertically, as you see below you right there. Can fold inwards and outwards about that far. Basic one joint bend 90 degrees there at the elbow, and then a 360 degree swivel on the wrist. Legs are ideally the same thing. You can move the leg about that far up, but it's very, very stiff. I don't know if it's the joint or my figure specifically. And then you only have one joint at the knee right there that bends about that far. Nothing really going on in the ankles. There feels like there's some movement there, but ultimately I just feel like it's just a separation of the pieces. No actual posability could be found there, and there's only one I don't think there's even anything there. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try it. No abdominal or torso joints of any kind. In fact, the only mobility that you find right here is the added detail of the loose pocket chain that he's got going on right here. Besides that, that really about does it for Joker himself here from DC Collectibles. So if you want to sort of flare him up, you can throw in some of the accessories that he came in that 4-pack initially, not the original Wave 1 release, but in that 4-pack wave, he came with the Titan gun, the decorated Joker-esque Titan gun with the little red and white swirl right there, as well as the green and purple decals. That's one that he utilizes for the Titan formula. I'm not going to say any more than that, if in case you have not played Arkham Asylum. But you do have that there, as well as an added little Easter egg. It's funny because originally I didn't think this accessory had any correlation with Joker until I not too long ago replayed Arkham Asylum on my live streams. And I played it on the most difficult, challenging mode, and it was through this replay through that I discovered, oh yeah, he did Jokerize the Scarface puppet to utilize for literally, like, what was it, 5 seconds during one of the final cutscenes of the game. You see it for a very, very brief amount of time, but there he is right there. He doesn't have any kind of functionality as far as being able to legitimately talk, but he does have a cutout on his back jacket. So in case you want to slide in one of his hands to make it look like he's holding him, you can do so right there. But there's the Jokerized version. He does have a little bit of posability with the arms. They literally just move up and down, as well as his legs. They just go up and down ever so slightly, and the head does rotate 360 degrees. But beyond that, what really shines about this little figurine is the detail, as well as the overall sculpting of the wood pieces of his head and his arms. So I enjoy that. I like that as a little nod to what we had there at the end of Arkham Asylum. But beyond that, that really about does it for DC Collectibles' version of the figure. So now let's see what McFarlane has brought in store for us. And here is the McFarlane Arkham Asylum Joker figure. And you can definitely see tremendous difference between the two, most notably the height. We're kind of retaining what they were kind of setting us up with that Batman Arkham Asylum version from McFarlane's. The height of the figure is, of course, very noticeable. You can definitely tell that they're going for a much more 6.5 to 7 inch scale for the figures, a lot more, dominating over the previous versions of these characters. And the colors are pop a little bit more. There's a little bit more stitching going on with the original DC collectible version right here with the costume and the outfit, but the actual color palette going on right here for the McFarlane is a bit more accurate to the game. You can actually see more of his chain and his belt, albeit the chain is not loose like the original. That's an added detail that the DC collectible version has over the McFarlane, but the touch is still thrown in there as a paint job, as a sculpting part. And overall, you still have the drooping flower right there, a characteristic that you cannot do without. A little bit of added griminess to the vest and the bow tie there on his chest. And overall, the outfit of the McFarlane version is significantly better. What is not better, that I will give once again the DC collectible version a higher up on, is actually the face. As you can tell, the face is actually very well sculpted and painted. Like the actual quality of the paint and the sculpt, especially around his hair detail, is immaculate. It's really, really great, especially when you consider how much bigger they made the head to fit that scale. They allow opportunity to be able to add in details, add in color correction, sculpting, you name it. I just think that it's a little bit more stylized in that McFarlane field of their own kind of staple style, as opposed to actually looking like he did in the Arkham Asylum video game. Kind of harkening back to my last video of the Arkham Asylum version from McFarlane, where they changed up some details to kind of give it its own style. It looks like they did a similar thing here with Joker, where they gave him a slightly more McFarlaneized face as opposed to the actual version that we see in the Rocksteady game. And you can noticeably see the differences here in these close-ups, where, yeah, you can definitely see that it's a different version of Joker, but it's still a very well-made looking Joker. And just like I said with Batman, if these slight aesthetic differences are a sacrifice that need to be made in order to give us some really awesome posability, then let's have it. Because similar to that Batman, another selling point that McFarlane tries to hit home here is the 22 moving pieces detail that they're always trying to sell. And Joker, once again, is fitting that bill. You have a lot of posability, and this is most definitely needed since it was very, very limited on the DC collectible version. Because here, holy shit, it's up the wazoo. Just like with Batman, you actually have multiple joints going on here in the shoulders. Not only do you have the ball joint that allows the arm to rotate 360 degrees vertically, as well as inwards and outwards about that even 90 degrees, but you have an additional shoulder pop out kind of joint there that is not as robust as the one that found on Batman, but it still allows for some additional slouching and tightening of the shoulders right there, as opposed to the previous version of the figure. 360 degrees up at the top of the neck there, and very significant pivoting up and down like so. You definitely have another swivel here on the bicep, but also double joints, ratcheted joints actually, here in the elbow, allowing bending of the arm as far as that right there. It even looks like he's saluting. And then you even have that ball joint on the wrist, similar to Batman's, that allows 360 degree pivoting. Actually, at least I think it does. Yeah, it's a little stiff, but it allows it, as well as notching up and down like so. There is a torso joint at the waist, not abdominally like the one in Batman's, but still allows movement about that far. I think it could actually rotate 360 degrees, but because of the way his tuxedo is flexed right there or molded right there, I don't want to, push it any more than I need to. You do have these top leg joints that allow possibility about that far forwards, about that much back. Actually, that's really, really back. And then it allows for ratcheted movement inwards and outwards. And again, for a character like Joker, this is very, very much welcome. You even got double knee joints right there for complete flexibility. DC Collectibles Joker is so stunned by the possibility that he just dipped. And then that ball joint from the wrist makes a return here in the leg. It's a little stilted than you would want it to be, only because of the way that these pants right here are molded. But you still allow some pivoting forwards and upwards, as well as a little bit, just a tiny bit inwards and outwards. That's probably the only area where that could have been done a little bit better, but fret not, there are toe joints. So now the iconic and psychotic clown prince of crime can really express himself the way that you would always expect him to do, albeit he's still a little bit skinny, so making sure that you're nailing that pose and balancing him the right way is always going to be needed. Now, as far as accessories, similar to DC Collectibles, McFarlane didn't really throw in as much as I could have desired, but again, that possibility more than makes up for that. They didn't throw in a Titan gun per se, but a gun nonetheless, one that it looks like is a very staple sort of magnum looking gun for the Joker that he's utilized not only in the Arkham games, but also in the comics to affect Batman in a very dark state. And as it was the case with Batman, the handle here is a little thicker than I would have anticipated, especially for molding it and fitting it into his hand proper, especially his shooting hand, because he does have two hands. One is more open than the other. One is clearly molded to be able to hold the gun, except when I try to fit it in, I legit start to get worried that I will not be able to actually fit the gun in. It legitimately looks like it's a gun holding hand, and yet it never seems to be able to fit. Like every single time I've tried to fit it in, it just does not work, and I don't want to risk damaging the figure because I just opened this. It's a very high quality product. I would probably say that's something that maybe in future reissues or restocks of this figure, they maybe need to start molding the hand a little bit more openly, especially because of how robust it is, so that he's able to fit that gun. So for the time being, I'm actually not able to really pose him with that gun. Maybe an external solution of some kind, in the way of maybe using like a hair dryer or something to kind of unloosen and mold the figure or the plastic of the hand to allow it to then open and utilize that gun will probably need to be utilized. And then the last two accessories thrown in are these two right here. They are of course the clacking chompers here, a staple for the Joker that have a tendency to explode. Of course, however, just like McFarlane did with Batman, they threw in pretty much the same accessory, only an alternate version of the other in different forms. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Call it a nitpick, call me being uppity here, but I wish that they would have just utilized the sources and the plastic and the effort of this secondary accessory that's just a opened version of the teeth here, and just given us a different accessory that's known for the Joker to have. You know what I mean? Just like with Batman with the open and then the closed batarangs that don't exactly open or close, they're just molded pieces of plastic to be the same accessory, only repeated twice. Give us a different accessory. Don't be too stingy, McFarlane. You guys have the money to be able to, make and generate a different accessory here, or a different form of accessory from the previous version. throw in something different, create something new instead of having it just be the same thing, only one is open and one is closed. Like, I'm sensing a theme here, and it's a theme that I'm not particularly a fan of. So there you have Batman Arkham Asylum Joker, this time over from McFarlane. And yes, there are some weird dichotomies going on right here, where even though the color palette of the McFarlane figure and the posability is top notch, there are still things from the DC Collectibles version that I actually kind of prefer, whether it be the actual design of the Joker's face or some of the accessories, as well as the thing that McFarlane is starting to fall back into a pattern of giving us duplicate accessories that just have a small little variants too. And I didn't really see this big of a problem with the Arkham Asylum Batman, but that hand right there that is indicating me should be the hand to hold a gun is not, effectively letting me hold it. I don't know if it's a defect on my personal figure or if it's a widespread thing. So if you guys own this version of the Joker from McFarlane, please let me know in the comments if you guys have been able to fit the gun into him so you're able to pose him with it, or if this is like a widespread issue that hopefully McFarlane has made it clear they're going to jump on and try to find a fix for. In the meantime though, let me know what you guys think of the McFarlane version. Do you prefer that one or the DC collectible version of the Arkham Asylum Joker? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you guys want to see more figure comparisons / reviews in the future. And if you guys want to check out a different video that is either Spider-Man or Batman related, check it out here on the screen before you. In the meantime though, stay safe, stay humble, and I'll see you on the next video.